The controversy over controlling teenagers' access to sexual health information. Next on the KPBS magazine Full Focus.
The numbers don't lie. A San Diego City school survey reveals that more than 40% of all students in San Diego public high schools have had sexual intercourse at some point in their lives. Good evening, I'm Gloria Penner. Tonight we'll talk about the reality of teen sex and reproductive services and just how much control a parent should have over both. We'll ask whose job it is to teach teens about sex, parents or public schools. What should they be taught? Abstinence only, birth control, or some combination of the two approaches? Also, there is the hot controversy over whether parents should be notified before an unmarried minor can have an abortion. There is a petition drive going on in California right now to qualify such an initiative for the ballot. We'll examine the pros and cons on sex education in the schools and parents' right to know about abortion with a community clinic executive, an initiative campaign spokesperson, a school board president, and a school sex educator. And let's start with the initiative drive. Alvin Romberg is with us by phone from Sacramento, and he is the spokesperson for the Parents' Right to Know campaign. So, Alvin, what does this initiative call for?
Well, the initiative attempts to correct a situation in which parents would not even know if an unemancipated minor daughter was pregnant and seeking an abortion. The initiative would require that before the person who performs the abortion can go ahead with it, they would have to notify a parent, one parent or a guardian, 48 hours before performing the abortion. And the initiative is a little bit is further along than perhaps some people realize. We actually turned in on April 14th, which was the deadline for signature gathering, over 1 million signatures. So it's now in the phase of the Secretary of State, and the registrar of voters in the 58 counties are now verifying the signatures. The signature drive is actually over, and the signatures are now being verified. We turned in over 1 million signatures.
Okay, so it looks like it really is pretty well along. Let me ask you another question about it, Alvin. Why is this initiative necessary?
Well, it's necessary to correct a situation in which the current situation here, as a result of a long series of laws and then litigation, which finally led up to the California Supreme Court approving a law requiring actual parental consent, somewhat stronger than this initiative. However, there was a change of judge, and the Supreme Court reversed its own decision in 1997. So to change the situation requires a constitutional amendment, and that means an initiative in the state. So that's what's led up to this initiative.
Okay.
And the drive then to get the necessary signatures to put it on the ballot.
Right, I understand that. All right, Patrick Mitchell, you're program manager for the Vista Community Clinic. What is your opinion of the Parents' Right to Know initiative?
Well, in a sense, I agree that a parent should have the right to know. My concern is that it's not taken into concern all of the various possibilities that teens may face.
What are you talking about? What possibilities?
Well, there are many times where a teen may be emancipated. There may be a situation where a teen doesn't actually get along with their parents and might need to make a decision for themselves without having their parental consent.
But other than that, you're saying that it's fine for parents to have to give their consent before the abortion can take place?
Personally, it's a touchy issue.
Well, let me hear about that.
Well, because I feel that a parent, I feel it's the parent's role to be able to educate their teens as to what choices they should make. The problem comes in with this, for me personally, where if a teen doesn't have the information to make the right choice, and the parent then makes a choice for them, then that becomes the problem. The teens need to have the right information.
Well, what happens if a teen comes to you because she's pregnant?
If a teen comes into our clinic at this point because she's pregnant, we would then give her the information that she would need and give her referrals so that she could go to somebody that could talk to her about the issues that she might be facing.
What kind of information are you talking about?
Referrals for maybe adoption, abortion, or prenatal.
So you're giving her the full range?
Right, because I feel that that's our job, is to give her the full range, and the choice is then up to her.
Well, ideally, parent involvement begins well before the abortion becomes an issue. 4 years ago, the Alpine School District, Mark, of which you are the president, unanimously voted to require parental permission for students to participate in sex education classes. Why do you support this?
Well,
This program, you're calling it an opt-in program.
Yeah, most districts have an opt-out. In fact, the way the state ed code reads, it's more of an opt-out situation, meaning a parent can opt out their child from participating. We went to opt-in for a couple of reasons. One, for the very reason that Patrick had suggested, and that is that the parent should have a right to know, to play a major role in the education across the board of their child. With opt-out, you're never sure if that parent ever saw the notice that went out. Many times, especially in high schools, those notices go out with the child. Well, if the child wants to participate, that parent may never actually see the notice, therefore will not have the opportunity to opt out.
Is opt-in, however, taking parent involvement to the extreme?
I don't think the extreme. If you think extreme, or if by extreme you mean giving them the right to have the say in their youngster's life, sure. I mean, but they should. They're responsible. If that child does something wrong, it's the parent, not the school district, that's held most often civilly and from time to time even criminally responsible. And so the parent should have, and we should as a school district, do every single thing possible to make sure that that parent is informed and has the right to make the choice. Just to add one other thing, I believe, and Alban can speak to this, that in his initiative there is the provision that you were concerned about, Patrick. I think that in his initiative, it does allow the child, if there is a concern about the family, in other words, it was a parent or a relative or somebody who is responsible and they can't talk, that they can in fact go to a judge through a counselor and then have that judge assign it.
We will pursue that, but I want to get into Marge Kleinsmith and what she does as coordinator of sex education for the San Diego City Schools. Now, in your district, parents have to opt out if they don't want their children to receive sex education. What do you teach when it comes to birth control and abstinence?
Well, all of our programs are abstinence-based, and we start talking about contraceptive methods 8th grade and up, and we follow the ed code very closely. And one of the things that the ed code indicates is that if you are teaching sex education, in addition to talking about abstinence, you need to talk to kids about ways to reduce their risk of getting sexually transmitted infections and unintended pregnancies.
If they do participate in sex?
Yes.
Yes. Well, how involved do the parents actually get in deciding what they want their kids to learn about sex?
Well, we feel very strongly in our district and on committees I work with that parents really do need to be involved in sex education for their kids. And at the beginning of every school year, in addition to sending notices home, letting parents know when sex ed is happening, we have required programs in our district so parents have this information too. We hold parent previews at all of our middle schools and high schools where parents can come out, learn about the behaviors of students through our Youth Risk Behavior Survey data, and they can also see all the materials used in the classroom. Unfortunately, the previews are very underattended. We also have a parent packet available for 6th and 8th grade that goes home to the parents prior to the students even getting the sex education.
Well, most California students are exposed to sex education classes in 6th through 9th grade, and now there is a petition circulating calling for a ban on sex education in kindergarten through 6th grade and for parental permission slips for older students. Opponents say children should have access to information about sexuality, especially when it comes to protecting their health. Reporter Karen Rostada shows us a program in the South Bay that brings teens together to talk about the facts of life.
And you're going to, you're dealing with your peers on a constant basis. I want you to keep it real. Just like it happens here when you walk in.
Keeping it real is what this training session on youth and sexuality is all about.
In San Diego County, I want you to look at the age. There was a 10-year-old that was reported in 2003 gonorrhea.
Program manager Mary Sutherland is teaching these teens about sexuality, from sexually transmitted diseases to contraception. The teens are peer educators at Operation Samahan's Youth to Youth Teen Center, a pregnancy prevention facility. The Family Health and Multi-Service Center serves low-income, uninsured, and underinsured families in National City.
Why are we in National City? Why is National City the area that you're in?
Because geographically, again, the youth are at a higher risk because of a lot of economical factors and other factors. Also,
statistically, what are you seeing here when it comes to sexually transmitted diseases and teenage pregnancy?
National City is a hot spot, and what we deem as a hot spot for teen pregnancy. And what that simply means is that the kids are at a higher risk of teen pregnancy. And just within our own center, we have, out of every 1,000, what we have statistically is that 43 of that 1,000 is pregnant, which indicates it's a very high number compared to the state of California or even the U.S.
Every 43 kids that you see out of 1,000 are going to be pregnant?
Yes, according to the last statistics that we have here at the clinic in the National City area.
The Samahan Clinic is located about a half a block from the Teen Center. Now, services here are available to the entire community, but youth get priority for everything from family planning to physicals.
It's a clinic where teens or youth can come for free and confidential services. With that services, it includes birth control, health education. It also includes pelvic exam, pap smears, for the males, testing, HIV, STIs, STD testing, and almost any activity as it has to do with sex, teens, health care issues. So we have a grant from Office of Family Planning that is called TSO, which is Teen Smart Outreach. And we have another grant which is called Information and Education. And in doing that, we operate a Teen Smart Clinic. And we are the only Teen Smart Clinic in the South Bay area. What is one of the things that it appears that syphilis has in common with the herpes or the genital warts?
Youth ages 12 to 24 can qualify for the free services when they fill out an application and listen to a 15-minute presentation by one of the peer educators. No parental permission is needed. Sutherland says they rely on a state-approved, power-through-choice curriculum, which is abstinence-based.
We promote abstinence. When they come in, when we talk with them, we give them material on being abstinence. But at the same token, that could be my choice, and that could be your choice. But in reality, it's not their choice. So what we do is we try to empower them with choices. Again, we're always talking about empowering our youth, but we can't empower them until we educate them. They need to know that that abstinence is important. That's what we would choose for them. But then they need to know that there are other methods available to them, and they need to have something to choose between.
Are you going to tell somebody what I'm telling you?
No, everything that you tell me is confidential. It's just between you and me. I'm not going to tell anybody.
That's one of the biggest problems that we have, is that when your peers come, the first thing, they're afraid. They are afraid. So you want to assure them that whatever they tell you is what?
Through role-playing, these teen educators learn how to share sensitive information with their peers. Educators like Alicia Aguirre are paid staff who find they often share what they've learned at the center with kids they see at school every day.
It's really hard because some of the people are really naive. Like, they think it's not going to happen to them, or like you said, their boyfriends are going to leave them or stuff like that. It becomes really hard. But I guess after a while, you kind of like get skills on how to get through and how to talk to them and what are like their weak points and stuff. And once you're telling them all the facts, they start getting more scared, and they get to the point that they're like, you're right, you know?
Alicia understands that some adults may not be comfortable with a 17-year-old teaching other teens about sex.
Even my own family, you know, like my aunts, they're telling my mom, why is Alicia working in that place, you know? And it's like, like, you're right, they're saying we should be the ones teaching them, but yet they don't do it, and they're still with their morals about, no, teens aren't supposed to have sex until they get married, you know.
Like most of the peer educators, Alicia attends Sweetwater High School right across the street from the center.
And they were trying to link the case, but they...
Sutherland says when asked, they go into both the high school and local middle schools to talk about youth and sexuality.
We also educate the parents, because it's not only about educating the peers, because sometimes the parents are also kind of ignorant or naive to the fact. And in doing that, we're actually breaking barriers. We're breaking cultural barriers as well, because in most of the household, our target population, and because where we are is mostly Latinos, and in that population, that's not exactly a topic of discussion in the home. So we're actually, in addition to teaching the peers, we're actually teaching the youth how to talk to their peers, how to talk to their parents, or talk to adults.
STI is a sexually transmitted infection. STD is a sexually transmitted disease.
We don't only talk to the parents about sex education, but we talk to them about other peer pressure and how to talk with them. And I think once the parents understand, again, we're talking empowerment, we're talking education, even at the parental level. You know, if once they understand that if your child makes the choice of becoming sexually active, then they are at risk of diseases. They need to see what those diseases look like.
And they need to know early, according to peer educators like Alicia, who says nearly half of the 9th and 10th graders that come to the teen center are sexually active.
Out of that half, I believe only like 1/4 would be taking like birth control or condoms, using condoms, and the rest are just like, well, we'll see, you know.
Lead to more serious infections.
Alicia says she wants to continue working with youth by becoming a doctor specializing in family practice.
Because I feel really comfortable, like I feel so good when people are telling me, you know what, thanks to you, I did not get pregnant, or thanks to your information, I'm no longer with that guy that was like hitting me and stuff. You know, it feels so good, and like, I don't know, like my spirit's going up, you know, and like I really enjoy it.
So Albin Romberg, here we have a clinic that acknowledges that some parents aren't equipped to talk with their kids about sex. Does the Parents' Right to Know initiative take that into account when it requires that parents be informed before an abortion can be performed?
Yes, it certainly does. First of all, there's nobody more qualified or knowledgeable or has the care and concern for a child than the parent, or in some rare cases, a guardian. They have a lifetime knowledge of that child's health care and special needs, allergies, all kinds of things about that child that no one else who is has a casual acquaintance would know. And we do provide, in regard to what was said before, first of all, it only applies to emancipated minors. Unemancipated minors, emancipated minors are not included on our initiative. For example, ones that are married or are in military duty. And as I say, minors, that's those 17 and under. So we also have an exception for medical emergencies and also what's called a judicial bypass, where a minor can go to a juvenile court and have a hearing from a professional, objective person, a juvenile court judge who's specially trained to deal with these kinds of situations if they don't want to notify the parent.
Thank you for that. All right, well, let me get points of view here on what is going on now. So we have two things on the table. We have the parents' right to know, and we have the question of parents getting involved in the sex education classes. They can choose them or not choose them. All right. Let me get your point of view on this, please, Marge.
I feel very strongly that we have to start respecting young people, and I think that what we're trying to do with this type of legislation is that we're trying to legislate communication. I think that if a parent does a really good job communicating with their child, teaching them values, bringing them up according to their values, at some point they need to be respectful that their child will go out and make the right decisions.
Does the assumption that young people will be sexually active encourage sex?
No, it does not. I think that our society focuses way too much on teens and sex, and we're the ones that put the focus on it. We bring violence into it, and we're on primetime TV talking about the different types of sex kids are having. To me, that's very disrespectful.
Mark, does it come down to either or, abstinence programs or comprehensive sex education?
I prefer abstinence, and I prefer an opt-in situation. You are not sure under opt-out, which is the way most districts are, that the parent actually has an opportunity to opt their child out.
Don't parents have a right to
wait, 1 second.
know what the districts are teaching? Don't they have a responsibility?
Under opt-in, you know that they know, because the only way they send a letter back saying, put my child in, is because they've read it. Under opt-out, you have no way of knowing if they've actually seen your document or seen. You say you have
we send things out in the mail, and I'm saying, why aren't the parents aware of what's being taught in the kids' schools if they're involved parents?
You said you have very low turnout at your courses where you show the materials to the parents. I think one of the reasons is the parents are not getting those materials.
They get mailed through the school
This is important
mail.
to note. Since we've put in opt-in, we have very few kids who are not participating. We know that our letters, our information is getting to our parents, and our parents, for whatever their reasons, and I fully stand behind that parent's right to make the decision, they opt their child in.
Okay,
we're
Mark,
not losing attendance.
I'm going to interrupt you because I want to involve Patrick in the discussion too. I mean, you said earlier, Patrick, that you believe that having the notification of the parents is correct. But let me extend that a little bit. Are abstinence-only programs that we've been hearing about providing the correct information?
That's my concern, that I don't feel so. I think that we need to show more, teach the kids more than just abstinence, because let's just face it, kids when they reach of age are going to have sex, and they need to be equipped with the proper tools.
All right, so the proper tools include
information on contraceptives, STDs, HIV, all of these options that are available to them, abortion, adoption, prenatal.
All right, let me turn to Mark on this. Mark, there have been programs that have said that the AIDS virus can be spread by sweat and tears, that condoms fail 31% of the time, that abortion can lead to suicide, and some of these programs are federally funded.
The bottom line is, if something happens with that child, it's not the school that will assume responsibility or the clinic. It's generally the parent. And since it's the parent 99 and 9/10% of the time that is going to have to assume responsibility when something happens with their child, they should have the right, the moral and ethical right to make the decision on what happens with their child. Once they're 18 years old or they're on their own, that's different. But when they're in that household, it is up to the parents, and we're a better society when we allow the parents to make the decisions for their children.
We only have a minute or so left. I want to do a once around the table and include Albin on this in just a few seconds each on the best way to deal with widespread teen sex and pregnancy among unmarried teens. Albin, I'll start with you. I'm limiting you to about 20 seconds.
Well, the best way we found and in other states is to involve parents. Parents need to be involved. They need to stay involved. They should not be cut out by laws which would even prevent them from being notified. So our polling, the fact that 1 million Californians signed our petitions, shows that the majority of Californians believe that they should be involved in such a serious decision of a minor daughter.
Thank you very much, Albin. Patrick?
My feeling is that our main objective is to educate the teens, give them all of the proper tools so that they can make the choices for themselves.
That's the best way?
That's the best way.
All right, Mark? About 15 seconds.
Yeah, opt-out does not encourage parental involvement. Opt-in does, because the child is not involved unless the parents say yes. We need more parental involvement. I believe that the children will be making better decisions if there's better communication with the parents.
Okay, and finally, Marge?
Parent involvement is important from when the kids are very young. Schools have an obligation to allow kids to have factual information, scientifically based information. Abstinence only does not provide that, and we need to start giving young people the respect that they need and treating them with respect so that they can make right decisions about their health.
Okay, well, we're out of time for our discussion of parental control of teen sex and reproductive services. As you can see, everybody agrees that parental involvement is key to this, but the question is, how far should parents be involved? Thanks to our guests, Patrick Mitchell, Marge Kleinsmith, Mark Price, and Albin Romberg on the phone from Sacramento. And to learn more about sex education in the schools and about local reproductive services, you can visit our website at kpbs.org. And let us know what you think of our program with an email or by writing to us at the address on your screen. San Diego City School Superintendent Alan Burson has been a lightning rod for controversy during his tenure. Now he's leaving. Are San Diego students better off? We'll find out tomorrow with a report card on the Burson years. We hope you'll join us. I'm Gloria Penner for KPBS. Good night.
On KPBS